Hello, my name is Claus Kropp, and I am the manager of the so-called Thumm Laboratory for Experimental Archaeology, an institution which is basically an archaeological open-air museum dedicated to the early Middle Ages, more precisely the so-called Carolingian era. I have the great pleasure today to being able to give you some insights on how we, as an institution and research facility, tried to cope with the consequences of the ongoing pandemic. After we had to close down for a while, we tried to find digital ways to approach our audiences and visitors, tried to reach them at home, and even after reopening in May, we tried to include more digital elements in our daily work. And this is what I try to show you today in this presentation. Before the pandemic radically changed the way of how we could engage with our visitors, the 20,000 guests every year basically had the chance to explore the site through various different possibilities. We had guided tours on site, basically 1.5-hour tours with a tour guide where you could explore different houses, but also the gardens and the livestock and the agricultural fields. We also have a set of specific workshops for schools, but also for adult groups where they could try themselves in medieval crafts, for example, but also cooking. We also conduct a series of public talks and courses on site, and it is always a quite active approach of getting together with the guests, engaging with them with a lot of hands-on aspects on site. Let's now talk about our first responses to the pandemic when Germany was hit by it in late February and early March, which basically resulted in a temporary lockdown which lasted until May of 2020. Like every other museum in Germany, we had to completely close down, and therefore also our long-planned season opening event for March 15 basically had to be completely cancelled. What we then tried to do was to quickly respond to the fact that the public couldn't actually enter the site, and we want to nevertheless keep the visitors in the loop on what is happening on site, on how we would react on the crisis, on how we would keep up with the fact that we nevertheless, whatever happens, had to take care of the livestock, and on how we would go on with the research projects, and so on and so on. About a week after lockdown, we had the chance to present a first real response to the ongoing crisis with the implementation of the so-called Thumm digital channel, which is based on YouTube but also linked to our website and includes a set of different short clips from 2 to 5 minutes length and gives our audience a chance from their homes to get impressions of what we were doing, impressions of ongoing research projects on site, but also to answer some of the questions coping with the crisis, how we handle the situation on site and how things move forward. We were able to scale up our digital approach when we decided to actually organize a completely digital open theme day for the open air laboratory, and this gave us many opportunities to test a lot of different strategies out, which I will now present to you. In order to organize the access as easy as possible for future participants, we decided to create a separate website which included all the necessary infos and manuals to join the conference. Like with the Thumm channel, we prepared the website both in English and German to make it more international. Usually, these open days not only give visitors the chance to roam freely on site, but also fellow research partners, cooperation partners, institutions, but also our own research staff the chance to present their work in public talks in our seminar room at the visitor center. Of course, we wanted to include this possibility into the online version of the theme day also, and it was even easier to get presenters deliver their pre-recorded paper for the digital conference. We worked together with XArc in this case, an association which we're a member of, which brings together open-air museums, institutions which are dedicated to experimental archaeology, but also individuals and craftsmen. They had a conference in Berlin in March where they tried out a new system, conference system, so to speak, for their purposes, in this case, Discord. It is a more chat-based version of a online, well, conference scheme where you would have a chance to communicate with the audience through a chat window. You would have discussion forums, you would have the possibility to moderate the process of these online presentations, to do live discussions with the presenters after the pre-recorded papers would be broadcasted. And then you would also have the chance to open separate chat rooms where the discussion could go on even after the presentation itself ended. We could therefore build on what XArc already developed in the March conference for our May conference. What was really interesting for us to experience was that the virtual theme day, with all its project presentations, papers, and virtual info booths, attracted a far more international audience than we usually would have had. More than 900 people actively participated in the two-day event, and these people came from more than 15 different countries around the globe. Another very positive aspect of this digital approach is that the echo, so to speak, of what you do lasts a lot longer. When we think about our YouTube channel and the hits of the videos we presented during the Digital Open Day, we see that even a couple of months later, now in November, we still have a lot of hits on these presentations. So we basically created a long-lasting advertising platform of our work. And also when you think about different project presentations, for example, the Rich Furrow presentation I already showed you, you can always link it to specific parts of your website to give first-time visitors, even when they would in person have the chance to come to the site, to get first-hand and very vivid impressions of what they could expect when they get there. Let's now, in the last step, see what happened after we had the chance to reopen and what remained basically from the lessons we learned when we had to go fully digital. Let's take the first theme day after reopening as a quite good example there on how we try to incorporate all the good lessons learned from the digital version of the theme day in May in a more analog version of a theme day in this case again. What we definitely wanted was to incorporate the positive effect of these online public speeches, public talks, and because we then again hoped to achieve that a more international audience would be able to participate in this part of the event. I can only say that we actually managed to do so. We invited, in this case, a textile archaeologist, which talked about the topic of tablet weaving, and we used the same digital infrastructure again. We worked again with Xarc. We used Discord again, so therefore there was a pre-recorded presentation with a live discussion afterwards, and a long ongoing and still ongoing months after chat based discussion on the topic of textiles and tablet weaving. We achieved to have more than 150 participants in that public talk, coming from more than 10 different countries. So from that point onward, we decided that we would always want to include these digital aspects, digital talk, and be it even in a way that we would broadcast a live talk on site digitally afterwards in order to achieve this more international scale I was talking about. What you see here is a map of our site, which includes yet another strategy we implemented. In this case, we used QR codes, which the visitors could scan throughout the day of the theme day, and which would give them a possibility to get close-up views over the shoulder of craftsmen, things they were not able to actually see with the restrictions of the corona pandemic we had to keep up with on site. So therefore, we would create possibilities in a digital way to get a full and complete visitor experience on the site, and this paid out quite well, and the visitors liked this new feature very well. Let's close with some final remarks from my side. I think it became clear throughout the presentation that all these digital strategies we implemented paid off in a way that it is possible to reach a far more international audience, and that it is also possible to create long-lasting impressions of your site if you include these digital presentations in your social media strategy, on your website, so people have the chance to visit you even when you're actually closed during winter, for example. So even leaving aside the pandemic itself, I think these strategies are worth thinking about and implementing, as you can always get positive impact when you use them. Thank you all for your attention, and I'm really looking forward now to start the conversation with you during the live discussion.